Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today, guys, we're going to be diving into the world of 𝗲𝗪 and specifically talking about the recent price action of the one coin. We're going to be taking a look at the daily and the hourly charts to see what we think is likely to happen next within the next few days and where we think things are likely to go in the slightly longer term towards the end of the bull run. Guys, as we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, let's get right down into this chart and talk about what's going on most recently with 𝗲𝗪. Okay, so we're going to start things off, guys, with the daily chart here. And we are going to talk about the kind of progress that we've seen so far. So basically from the lows of wave 1 all the way down here in March 2020 through to basically much the peak of wave 3, right? This includes the pullback that we saw with wave 2. This came in at 18,905% in gains, significantly higher than that of things like Bitcoin with only 1,600, much higher than that with Ethereum with only 5,000% in gains, for example, right? But obviously you do not move up 18,000% in a straight line, right? We didn't have a complete moonshot. Instead, it was full of little mini corrections on that journey to the upside, and even a bigger correction in part of our impulse waves to the upside overall, right? So we know that there are some pretty big picture moves that are going on. We can see this within our bigger kind of picture here with this a year long or a year and a half long projection on where we think 𝗲𝗪 is going, right? Long term, we see this thing peaking up there at 79.7 cents with a potential push for $1 as well. From the current position, we do see the end of the bull run kind of coming in with another 434% from the current position. So again, not too bad to see this thing really peak up there towards that 79 cent area. If we go above that, that would be fantastic, but this is my expectation. Again, we don't always just hit these areas bang on. We do sometimes wick above them, for example. So $1, I think, is the true peak for 𝗲𝗪. With all that being said, even this third wave to the upside was full of mini corrections inside it as well. Now, we saw the fourth wave correction, and it's been quite volatile for the most part, right? We've seen things, the pull back, we saw a push back up, get rejected from the 786, get pulled back down, and then continue this journey. We set a new all-time high before Bitcoin decided to pull us back down again, just below some interesting areas. We're going to get into that on the smaller time frames at the moment, in just a moment. To kind of go through what we expect to happen, in the next kind of week, and then where we could go from there. Now, before I get into all of that, I do want to kind of acknowledge a couple of things. One, we're going to delete this because I don't need that. We're going to just expand this up for a second and just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, and before we talk about what's going on here, first of all, I'm going to jump over to the advice dashboard. And the advice dashboard is going to kind of help us understand what is going on. So for those people who do not know what 𝗖𝗢.io is, there's a link in the description below. Do check it out. But basically, 𝗖𝗢.io use artificial intelligence, machine learning to help us understand the underlying value of cryptocurrency. In this case, we're taking a look at 𝗲𝗪. So here, that AI is able to take a look at the underlying data and actually help us understand what's going on at a deeper level. So we can see the 𝗲𝗪 ratio, for example. This is your liquidity, and this comes out as an A2 rating. So obviously, higher up the scale, the better. So A1 is the best, A2 is the second best. So we know there's no problems with liquidity. We have a fear and greed index for 𝗲𝗪. This comes down at C1, right? So again, the lower end of the spectrum, we have a lowest rating possible of D, and it goes basically C1, C2, C3, D. So we know we're just on the cusp of fearful, and also just below the neutral area. So we know there's a fair amount of fear in the space at the moment. And for 𝗲𝗪, it's kind of, it is fearful. It's not quite neutral. It's kind of tipped in the favor of fearful at the moment. And this is an important thing just to note as we talk about volatility on the smaller time frames, is the fear in the space. When we come down a little bit lower, we have a Sharpe ratio. The Sharpe ratio is coming out as an A2 rating. So again, the second best rating that this platform can give you. We have the red line here. This is your 50-day average, and the green line is your current score. So overall, we have here is basically a Sharpe ratio above the 50-day average. what is the Sharpe ratio? The Sharpe ratio is your risk to reward ratio. It basically says the risk to holding one versus the rewards of holding one. And this is in your favor right now, an A2 rating. So when we take a look at the curve, we can see that we're above the 50-day average. We have a good risk reward ratio that's in our favor for holding Harmony One right now. And when we take a look at the risk reward ratio being an A2 and the fear and greed index being a C1, these two things are opposites. So it's important that we acknowledge that as there is a discounted rate going right now for people who are susceptible to the fear in the space and acting emotionally rather than analytically. Overall, we do have a Sharpe ratio that is in our favor, and there is some discounted Harmony One up for sale. That's how I look at it. We have profitability and ROI, if you will, of A1, the best it can be. Of course, when we're talking about 18,905% in gains, it's hard to see that that wouldn't be an A1 rating, right? Significant gains, much higher than things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So overall, the profitability is right up there. The peak end value demand is a B2, so pretty neutral, nothing to really worry about with that. And the moving averages are up there in A2. So we take a look at this entire thing. What's the odd one out? Well, the odd one out is the fear and greed index. This means that there are many people with the sentiment in the space right now that are incredibly fearful. They're not necessarily paying attention to the data. In fact, they're just acting emotionally when it comes to buying and selling. And as a result, we see this huge amount of fear in the space overall. And obviously, Harmony One has also succumbed to that with a C1 rating. So we know that people are more willing to sell Harmony One right now than they are to buy it. And as a result of that, knowing that actually everything else in the background here, from your liquidity through to your risk reward ratio, your profitability, your moving averages, are all in our favor, to say that the price is more than likely going to move up, to see a fear and greed index that actually is indicating, you know, there's fear in the space, then that's actually an opportunity in my eyes. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, nor is Chris, but it's how I read this data, and I read it as people are willing to sell and not so many people are willing to buy, despite the fact that everything else in the background is actually working out pretty well for Harmony. Overall, we do have an A3 rating. It hasn't changed and it's moving quite well. Okay, it's that point in the video where we want to talk about being safe in the crypto space. We see a lot of scam activity and want to ensure our cheeky community are as safe as possible and prevent anyone from losing their crypto. There are many different scams in the space, but one of the most common and easy to avoid are those hacked wallets and exchanges being hacked themselves. This is where hardware wallets come in. When it comes to choosing a crypto wallet, there is no perfect solution. And no matter which kind of wallet you do choose, if you don't understand the basics of security, you can still become a target of bad actors. Now, like I said, we like hardware wallets because they minimize the risks that we cannot control, such as major data breaches at cryptocurrency exchanges or malware that exploits the zero-day vulnerabilities in mobile and desktop operating systems. To be clear though, hardware wallets are not perfectly safe. They will give you an added level of security and protection though. We do like to use the Ledger devices. We have Ledger Nano S and X on this channel. And these are for a good bang for your buck when it comes to keeping your crypto safe and secure. There are two models, the Ledger Nano X and the Ledger Nano S. The X uses Bluetooth and can be used with your mobile, where the Ledger Nano S, it does require you to actually plug it into a laptop. Those are the two main versions, and we actually use both of them as some cryptocurrencies only work with the Ledger Nano S currently. The Ledger Nano S is smaller, however, with a limit on the amount of different coins that you can hold, whereas the Ledger Nano X can hold up to 100 different cryptocurrencies. You often find yourself having a trade-off between the kind of hardware wallet that you want to buy and obviously the ones that do everything you absolutely need them to do. Now, when it comes to cost and availability, I do find that Ledger is a little bit easier to kind of come by and is more affordable to the everyday individual and investor. When it comes to buying a hardware wallet, we do suggest you research the different types and brands, and I cannot stress this part enough. Only order directly from the manufacturer, as there are many fake hardware wallets out there. If you are interested in a hardware wallet, there is a link to Ledger's official website in the description below. You will be able to find out more details about how to keep your crypto safe there. Guys, let's continue with the video. So with knowing that, what is going on with our daily chart here, right? So I do want to talk about quite briefly what is going on with our cup and handle saucer, cup and handle, no saucer included. That would be our support line just here. So a cup and handle Okay, and what is that going to look like when we talk about pushing up in October? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the high point from just up here, and we're going to prop this down on our low point just at the bottom here. And again, this comes in pretty much with our 1.6 area just here at 33 cent. It actually comes in at about 34.5 cent, right? So for the month of October, this is kind of my projection. This is kind of where I feel we are likely to go, right? In that slightly longer term. When we talk about where October is kind of projecting, if we complete this cup and handle, then we're looking for that shot to move up. That is the next step. So with cup and handle, you usually target this 1.618 area, and for Harmony 1, that would be 34.5 cent before seeing a pullback of significance. Okay, we're not going to move up in a straight line, so we do expect some kind of volatility on that way up there. Then we'll find a bit more of a major pullback before moving on up again. Okay, so it's good to understand where we are in terms of what patterns have been forming. A good cup and handle pattern here, pushing us up towards that 34.5 cents. So we know that long term we have some pretty good targets associated with the charts. We have a good 79.9 cent by the end of the bull run, and we do have some good projections for next month as we close off September. But I still do expect volatility to occur here on those smaller time frames. So overall, when we actually jump down into our hourly view, this is where we start to see that volatility, right? We can see how we have been performing recently. We can see the volatility all the way through here with Bitcoin kind of pulling us down at various different stages. Now, we have been actually working our way up, though. And this is something that we have started to see pretty much from the 21st of September, where we pushed up, we fell back down, and we were always setting these higher lows, okay? And that set an upward trend. Now, of course, there is a downward trend as well. This one started way back here on the 13th of September, and we touched on it again on the 26th of September before pulling back down again. Now we're looking at finding rejection from that 618 area and falling down a little bit more. But we are finding that this area of support is actually quite strong. We can see that we touched on it here, and as we were approaching our support line of 14.4 cent, we actually got the reversal on the stochastic. Now, this is usually quite a rare scenario where you see this reversal halfway through on the stochastic RSI. Normally, you go from oversold to overbought quite rapidly, but sometimes you come across an area that resonates really well, and you find a bounce from that area, right? And that's exactly what you've seen just here, okay? In the same way that we saw over here as well, okay? So what you're actually witnessing at this point was a reversal, and we're looking to see if we can push this back up, go back up into this oversold area, then come back down and retest this area as a support line. I would anticipate that we're going to get rejected from the 618 at about 15.6 cent, and that seems like the most logical area to kind of be rejected from. Pull down onto our support line and then test this area up here, pushing past the 618 and then getting rejected from our downward trend line. This is going to get us into a tight wedge where we anticipate a small pullback before going absolutely nuts to the upside overall. Now, of course, we could see some more volatility outside of what we're talking about here with Harmony 1, i.e. we have a good surge to the upside, but Bitcoin decides to pull us down even further, right? That volatility isn't quite over yet, but we are looking at this technical point of view of a downward trend and upward trend forming a triangular wedge, and this could actually play out to our advantage as we come into the first week of October. So again, talking about that handle that's trying to finish off, there is still a possibility for another 20% drop, and we are mindful over that. And if we do see this drop, then that would complete the handle. If we continue this out here, again, the handle is semi kind of complete. We'd like to see it finish off, but again, I wouldn't mind seeing this kind of reversal and come to a bit of an end either. So I am kind of mindful that we could potentially see another pullback, maybe pulling us in a little bit lower before we actually go ahead and really set that target at the 1.618 on the handle, and make that come to fruition. But with that being said, I'd also quite like to see this kind of triangular wedge really play out and then see us move up towards that 21 cent area, which is just up here as our kind of resistance line just above the 718. So 786, sorry. So overall, everything's looking pretty good on the charts. Obviously, some small term volatility that again, is pretty much driven from Bitcoin at this point. And whatever Bitcoin decides to do as it closes the month out, is going to be a good key indicator for what is to come, right? I do anticipate that we are likely to see a pretty good move in October as we continue things, and basically the end of the bull run is looking pretty good with our projections up there as well of 79 0.9 cent. Everything for Harmony 1 has been performing well, and again another 434% is something that I do expect to see with Harmony 1 in the coming months. Guys, I'm going to leave that there. Hopefully you have found this video useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new, why not subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.